Hello, this is a PowerPoint on operant conditioning. I'm doing this because of current situations. I'm not in my classroom, and this helps me get my energy out because I love talking about psychology. This is not my PowerPoint. I'm using someone else's due to circumstances beyond my control. Hopefully you will get something out of this. What is operant conditioning? When we talk about operant conditioning, we're talking about reinforcements and punishments. When you have a reinforcement, the behavior increases. The behavior is strengthened. Punishment, a term many of you might be familiar with, the behavior diminishes. It stops or decreases. And B.F. Skinner, who does have a mighty big forehead, is the famous guy of operant conditioning. So we had talked about classical conditioning in the past. What differentiates classical and operant conditioning? Classical conditioning is an automatic response. A stimulus causes something to happen. We had, if you remember correctly, we talked about conditioned responses and unconditioned responses, conditioned stimuluses and unconditioned stimuluses. But the main way to differentiate is the fact that classical happens automatically, where operant, because it's rewarded or punished, it involves active control of the learner. Edward Thorndike came up with an idea, and it's called the law of effect. And I'm not so sure why we give him such credit, because it's kind of a duh idea. That we have talked about the fact that some of our duh ideas in psychology are maybe weren't so duh at one point or another. So the law of effect from Edward Thorndike says that if you reward a behavior, it's likely to reoccur. And Thorndike used a fish, as you can read, to reward, to entice cats to find their way out of a puzzle box that could only be opened by pressing the lever inside. And there's the beautiful Edward Thorndike. No, I don't really think he looks like Joseph Stalin. You can beg to differ. The main thing Thorndike did was the law of effect, which says rewarded behavior will reoccur, or will be more likely to reoccur. B.F. Skinner, yes, the big forehead guy. Sorry, B. He was probably the most influential behaviorist. He came up with the Skinner box. This is displayed well in most psychology books. He basically also developed shaping, which is a way of training with rewards, which we will be getting to. So shaping. Here you want, for example, a seal to balance a ball on the nose. You give reinforcement when the seal touches the ball. Then you give reinforcement when he nudges the ball. Then if he picks it up, you give reinforcement. And then when he finally balances, you give reinforcement. The main term you need to know with this is successive approximations. That is, you reward the behavior that is the next closest to that which you want. So once the seal picks up the ball for a brief moment, you are no longer rewarding the seal for touching the ball or nudging the ball. You only reward closer and closer actions to that which you finally want. And so this is called shaping. And the operant conditioning chamber, which is better known as the Skinner box. In this you see there's a lever, and there's lights, a speaker, and basically what you are training this rat to do, mouse, rat, whatever, you use different things to signal to either reward or punish, and you're getting the rat to press the lever to get some type of reward or punishment. So now to the next, I think, far more interesting concepts. Reinforcers. Please, please always remember, reinforcers are things that strengthen the behavior. Okay? So when you are judging if something is positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, or punishment, if it increases the behavior, then it is a reinforcer. So the two types, positive reinforcement. In positive reinforcement, you are giving a good. You are rewarding someone. This is often the easier one to determine. So if you do a favor for me and I give you a piece of candy, if you say thank you and I give you a panther paw, if you open the door for me and you're my significant other and I give you a kiss, some type of positive reaction, some type of good, something you see as a good, which will increase your behavior. Negative reinforcement, you take away something bad. And if you think of it, if you take away something bad, that will increase the behavior. For example, one of the best examples of this is taking medicine for a headache. If you take medicine for a headache, the headache will go away, the bad will go away. Therefore, the action of taking medicine has been reinforced. The buzzer in your car for your seatbelt is a negative reinforcement. Why do you buckle your seatbelt? Hopefully most of you because you want to stay alive and make it to school the next day. However, it also, for some of us, not me, I say us, but I don't really mean me, it is because you want to get rid of that horrible buzzing sound or dinging sound or whatever it may be. So if you buckle your seatbelt, it takes away that horrible sound. You are taking away a bad. So when we talk about positive and negative, we are talking about giving and taking. Okay, we've dealt with this before. It's not good and bad. It's giving and taking. So if you are giving something good, it is positive reinforcement. If you are taking away something bad, it is negative reinforcement. Okay, some more quick ideas about positive reinforcement. So I want you to study. So if you study, I give you chocolate. And what do you do then? Or I could give you money. Or I could give you a kiss. The whole thing is I'm giving you something pleasant to increase your behavior. Negative reinforcement. If you have a headache and I want you to study, I may give you Advil. This is negative reinforcement because it is the removal of something unpleasant to increase your behavior. So if you are taking away, then it is negative, and if it's going to increase your behavior, it is reinforcement. And very important, negative reinforcement is not punishment. Try to find as many examples that you can to reinforce this concept. They love to ask about this on AP exams. So here are some more great examples. Okay. Well, I guess it's just one example. I apologize. So escaping, you can read through this, escaping the electric current would increase the behavior. You are taking away a bad. I'm going to go on because this slide actually kind of bores me, but you can feel free to pause the PowerPoint if you need to read it. Primary versus conditioned reinforcers. Primary satisfy a biological need. Food, water, rest, sex, things that in and of themselves are rewarding. Conditioned are things that we have learned to value. Praise. Why do we value praise? Not necessarily for the good it offers in and of itself, but because we've associated that with someone praising us means we're going to get some of our biological needs satisfied. It goes back down to a primary need. But the main thing you have to understand here is that primary satisfies your basic need. Conditioned or secondary reinforcers satisfy a non-essential need, and they are learned. The one that they love to focus on is money. So make sure, if nothing else, you remember that money is a conditioned or secondary reinforcer. Okay. However, it does go away right away. Partial reinforcement, also known as intermittent reinforcement. This is when you don't reward it or punish it reward it every single time. Okay, if you're not rewarding it every single time, it's going to take longer for the people to make that connection. However, because you don't do it every single time, you will keep the response longer. The learning, the training, the conditioning will last longer. And we are going to look at these schedules of reinforcement. Okay, so say I want my husband to lose weight, and I'm going to use operant conditioning to help him. Several ways I can give him the reinforcements. Each may have a different effect on both the acquisition, the getting, the learning, the training, and the extinction, the getting rid of, the stopping of his behaviors. Interval schedules. Interval schedules involve time. Time. How much time must pass? Ratio depends on how many times you do the behavior, the number of occurrences of the behavior, and we will get more into that. Then, maybe go back to a pound. He never quite knows. He knows eventually he'll get a massage. However, he does not know how many he has to do, how much he has to do in order to get the reward. A great example of this is gambling. Think of slot machines. And I know you're all too young to ever know what slot machines, but you keep thinking the next time you push that button, the next time you push that button, the next lottery card you buy, the next lottery numbers you buy. Because you don't know, because it's a random occurrence, you don't know when it's going to happen. So, acquisition takes longer with variable ratio because he doesn't, or the person doesn't know how long they have to do it, but it also lasts longer, and it is very difficult to get rid of as long as the reward is something that people value. Now, interval. Interval is an amount of time. Interval is time. Fixed interval is a set amount of time. So I give my husband a massage for every 24 hours he stays on his diet. Or I give you a piece of chocolate for every hour you are studying. Or you go to college and you have exams every 2 weeks. You know when you're going to get rewarded for studying. And so you have a set number, or a set amount of time that you know you must do this. Variable interval, a random amount of time. You don't know when. So again, I could give him the massage after 24 hours, then 10 hours, then 5 hours, then 8 hours. Classic example with this is the pop quiz. You don't know when I'm going to check, but if you're doing the behavior at that time, you will get the reward. So if I give you a pop quiz, you don't know when they're coming, but if you have studied, you will get the reward. So once again, the variable is going to last the longest because you keep thinking if I just do it a little bit longer. However, it's more difficult to get them to do the behavior. Oop. Buying state lottery tickets and winning. Okay, is that based on time? No, that is based on number that you buy. A way to also differentiate is if you do more of it in a set amount of time. So if I buy 20 tickets, is that going to increase my chances? Yes, it will. So therefore, this is a ratio because it's the number of times I do something. So it is a ratio. Now, is it set or is it variable? It is variable. Otherwise, it would defeat the purpose of a lottery. So number 1 is variable ratio. Okay, number 2, a hotel maid may take a 15-minute break only after having cleaned 3 rooms. Okay, so here we have number of times she has to do something, so it is a ratio, and she knows how many, 3 rooms, so it is fixed ratio. Watching and seeing shooting stars on a dark night. Okay, Does this matter how many times, or does it matter when? And the correct answer, though this one can be controversial, is when. So you have to be looking up at the right time, and you don't know when, so it is variable interval. If this one bothers you, I wouldn't worry too much about it. Let's move on. A teenager receives an allowance every Saturday. Is this number of occurrences, or is this time? This is time, so it is interval. And it is fixed. He knows when he will receive it, so this is fixed interval. Checking the front porch for a newspaper when the delivery person is extremely unpredictable. Okay, does it matter when you go out there or how many times you go out there? The answer is it matters when. If you went out there 20 times in 5 minutes, it would not increase the likelihood of the paper being there. So therefore, it is time, it is interval. And because this delivery person is extremely unpredictable, we don't know when. So it is variable interval. A professional baseball player gets a hit, approximately every third time at bat. Okay, this increases with the number of occurrences he does, the number of times he gets up to bat, so it will be ratio because it's number of times you do it. Now, because it's approximately, but it does give a number, a lot of people want to call this fixed ratio. However, I've watched enough baseball that I'm not quite willing to do that, and I think it's variable ratio. But I think the important one here is to know its ratio. Checking the oven to see if chocolate chip cookies are done when baking time is known. Okay, you know the baking time. It's not unpredictable. Apparently, this is written by a man who's never baked chocolate chip cookies. And so you know when it's going to happen. So it is fixed, and it is amount of time, so it is interval. I'm going to speed up the rest of these. A blueberry picker receives $1 after filling 3 pint boxes. Okay, here it's number of occurrences, so it is ratio. We know how many, so it is fixed ratio. A charitable organization makes an average of 10 phone calls for every donation it receives. Okay, the more phone calls they make, the more likelihood they have. So it is ratio, number of occurrences. And again, this is kind of like the baseball player. You could say fixed ratio because they're giving you an average. Don't struggle too much. Calling a garage mechanic to see if your car is fixed yet. Does it matter how many times you call? No. In fact, the more times you call, the more you may piss the guy off. And so it's when you call, not how many times. So it's interval, and you don't know how long it's going to take him. So it is variable interval. A student's final grade improves 1 level for every 3 book reviews submitted. So you know how many things you have to do, and it is set. So it is a fixed ratio. Going to the cafeteria to see if the next meal is available. Now, this one, because of our cafeteria setup, I would say is fixed interval. They're pretty reliable about what time it's ready, and it is based on time, not how many times you go there. Okay, moving on to punishment. Punishment decreases behavior. Okay. Positive punishment, again, positive means you give something. So if you want to decrease behavior, are you going to give something good or give something bad? You are going to give something bad. Okay, so you give something unpleasant. So now I would never do this, but if I wanted you to stop talking in class, I flick you with a rubber band every time you open your mouth. So when you do the behavior, I punish you. I'm giving you something bad. I want you to stop talking in class. Okay? Negative punishment also called omission training, but again, don't stress about that, is the taking away of something pleasant. Your mom does not let you watch Glee because you cussed at the dinner table. Okay, if Glee is a reward to you, not watching Glee would be a punishment. She's taking away something good. So what is the difference between negative reinforcement and punishment? This is important. You will have a question on the AP exam if that has anything to do with AP exams in the past. Negative reinforcement encourages the behavior. It increases the behavior. You are taking away, hence negative, you are taking away something bad. So you're taking away and you're increasing the behavior. Repeat this, make it a mantra to get it into your head. Negative reinforcement increases or encourages behavior. So if I am electrically shocking you and you say, my teacher rocks, and I stop shocking you, I take away the bad. Therefore, I am increasing you saying my teacher rocks. Punishment discourages behavior. I want to stop your behavior. So you have to look when evaluating this. Did the behavior increase or decrease? Was it to encourage or discourage the behavior? Here's a chart. I'm not going to spend long on this because we've gone through it. However, feel free to pause the video and look over this chart. Okay, last thing, punishment and spanking. Punishment does have some negative connotations, not just spanking, but the association of negative feelings, creation of resentment. Many people feel the best way to go, if possible, is to just positively or negatively reinforce the good behavior that we want, not punish the negative. Other people question the practicality of not punishing behavior. It's a whole discussion you can have with your peers about this. So I'm going to let you think about punishment and spanking on your own. There's lots of points of views either way, and this was just interesting for discussion. Many textbooks also cover this.